the same things that happened in the beginning of time is still happening now. And that's why we feel like the Bible is so relevant. And that's why we're studying it, because what up? Welcome back to another edition of Freewenow.
Till it's backwards.
Yes, sir. Hey, look, and we got a good one for you today, right?
Great one. Don't undersell it.
Yeah,
don't undersell
he
it.
said don't undersell it. Hey, put some respect on God name. All right, look. So today is going to be the second time we're tapping into the Bible studies, right? So we were doing these Bible studies at home, but we never brought it out to the forefront. We're bringing it out to the forefront. What you got for the people?
Hey, man, being in the wrong place with the wrong people will feel right when you're doing the wrong thing. Make sure you surround yourself by people that uplift you, make you better, and want to attain the same goals that you do.
Hey, listen, they're going to have to start paying you for these quotes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in the school zone. You got to drive slow. You know what I mean? That was deep. So today we're going to be going through Genesis 3 and 4. Okay. All right. We're going to go through Genesis 3. It's a little dense, so we may have to give it to you in another one.
Yeah,
right.
It's a lot.
So chapter 3, right. And we're just going to give you some themes, some things that came to mind when we were reading that, tie some verses with it. You know what I'm saying? And feed you. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all get fed today.
Big ticket items.
You know what I'm saying? Big ticket items. Big ticket items. Okay, so when reading chapter 3, man, of Genesis, what were some themes that stuck out to you?
So I'll go to my first verse that I pulled out of here, and it was something that I seen, and I immediately was like, yo, that has a lot to unpack in that, right? Mm-hmm. And it talks about how Eve seen the tree and it was good for food and pleasant to the eyes and one to be desired. And when I immediately thought of that, I thought of how your eyes can be the biggest con artist in your life, right? I feel like as humans, we have so many, we see so many different things, right? And they look great, like maybe the tree, or maybe a job, or maybe some money, or maybe a girl, or whatever it is in our lives. We see things and immediately would desire them. We start putting in this thought process of what we expect it to be without doing the research to see exactly what is the value of that thing we desire. And we go off on a tangent and we pursue it, and we forget about all the things that already are surrounding us that are great, right? Going more depth into that, right? This one tree in the midst of an entire garden when everything was already gifted to them. Bro, there was no need to have the desire for this one tree, right? But it was that perceived lack, as we talked about, that perceived lack that made them want to pursue that tree, and they forgot about everything they already had. They forgot about the flourishing trees around it.
Man, on that note, right? We were watching Myron Golden. Shout out to Myron Golden. Come on the pod, man. So what Myron said is that what people don't realize is that the tree that was of good and evil, like he said, you had to walk past all of these other you know what I'm saying, beautiful trees, whatever you wanted. And then you have to work for it. It was just there. So they had to work for all of the, in your life, what are all of the gifts and abilities that God has given you that you overlooking? What are all the things that you should be thankful for and grateful for that you overlooking? What are all of those things in your life that you just kind of, you just walk over and you focusing on, like he said, that perceived lack, right? When you start focusing on that perceived lack, you're doomed to fail.
Forgetting about your abundance. You
know what I'm saying? Forgetting about your abundance. All because of your eyes. Right? Like, it's a saying, right? Like, you know, I'm from the dirty. Shout out Birmingham, the 205. Nothing to my. So from the dirty, right? And so a lot of times people in my family be like, eyes bigger than your stomach. Your eyes bigger than your stomach. You eating with your eyes. So in this instance, literally, because of what Eve saw, they ate the fruit. Right. So your eyes bigger than your stomach. Like, I remember they'll be like, are you really that hungry? You know what I'm saying? You will pile a lot of food on your plate. You know what I'm saying? Ready to go crazy. And it's like you get to it and you start eating. You like, dang, I can't even finish all of this.
And it's almost a sense of you have to force feed yourself to finish it.
You have to
finish it because you already started it.
Because you already started it. You know what I'm saying? So like your eyes will lead you to places where you're forcing it. They had to force it to go past all of these trees to get to the knowledge of good and evil tree.
Exactly.
They had to force and go against everything that was in flow for them. And in 2024, you want to be in flow. You want to be in your gifts and abilities, and you want to be in flow. In verse 6, right, the verse he's talking about, it says, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So a lot of times when we see things, bro, we think that, oh, if I had this, my life would be like that.
Yeah.
If I had this, I would be in this point in my life. Oh, that person has that and they have that. If I had that, my life would be better. Right? So what in your life are you looking at, are you desiring that you think just because you see it, it's going to make your life better. It's going to make you more wise. Oh, I'll be smarter if I had this. Or if my dad was around, I would have had this. Or if my mom loved me like she should have, I would have had this. Well, if my parents put me in a different school or whatever. You know what's interesting, bro? People that have said that, oh, I should have went to the league, or I should have went D1 in college, or I would have made the varsity team or whatever. It's always, well, if I would have had this, I would have had that.
It's always a what if.
It's always based on what they saw.
Yeah.
If I would have had this, or the coach be tripping. If he would have saw who I really was, then he would have. If I could have saw what you see now, then you know what I mean? Like, there's always this perceived lack that comes from your eyes, right? That puts you in a bad place.
Yeah. And I like y'all do not miss the point we're trying to make, right? There is nothing wrong with having desires for better things. Right. There's nothing wrong with wanting to pursue certain things. There's nothing wrong with liking nice things, but you have to do the research and you have to determine the true value of these objects you are going after. Right. Don't say what if. Right. What if it's this? What if it's that? Find out what it truly is and take it for face value. Find out the real worth of the things that you are seeing before you decide to desire them.
I think a theme that stuck out to me was the conversation that Eve was having with the serpent.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of times we play with fire and expect not to get burned. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, I'm just talking to him. Like, it's all good. It's all good. It's all, you know what I'm saying? I can just go to this environment. It ain't gonna be, I'm strong enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, my human will is strong enough. I know what God said. We're not gonna eat the fruit. Let me just hear you out. Let me just hear what you're saying. Right? And so it's to the point that the serpent, right, which is Satan, the devil, he can only pervert what God already has made. He doesn't have the ability to make anything. So the only thing he's able to do is to pervert things that God made. What do I mean? So in verse 2, at the end of verse 1, and he said unto the woman, yet hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And she was like, nah, he didn't say that. He said we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. So now they're in the conversation going back and forth, right? And so now the serpent is kind of playing on her psyche based on what God said, right? And so on the way in verse 3, it says, well, God said you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it lest you die.
Yeah.
When God never mentioned about them touching it, right? So now this conversation has you misinterpreting what God said. You feel me? Like sometimes you need to go and in this situation, she should have went to Adam, I feel like, and be like, wait, what did God say again? You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of trying to go from memory or go from what he said, playing telephone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whenever we start playing telephone, we start misinterpreting.
Things get lost in translation.
Things get lost. Like, that's why it's important for you to go to the Bible and know what it says for yourself. Because we could tell you one thing, right? Or you can go listen to a preacher or a minister and they can tell you one thing. But if you don't know what it says for yourself,
you're lost.
They can tell you anything, you lost.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that he specified in this, right, was when she started talking to the serpent, they misinterpreted exactly what God said, right? Because God is such a powerful God and such a direct God, the details of what he tells you are very important and you cannot miss one.
Huge.
Because reading, just in the Bible in general, reading verses, if you take what they call, what do they call it? It's like a poaching method, right? Where you poach a verse and you try to manipulate it to support your claims, right? If you don't take the full details of what is being said and understand that it is not just one passage, it's a full like monologue, it's a full script,
right?
Then you get lost, right? Because you start to have those lapses on, oh, wait, did God really say that?
Right.
Nah, actually, he said if we touch it, we die too. Now, everybody in the garden is confused because they thought one thing, now is another thing being said. The details are very important. And like I said, don't just take our word for it. Go in there and read yourself and understand truly what the Bible is talking about. Because at the end of the day, if you allow somebody to steer you wrong, that's all you're going to ever get.
Facts. So now they're in this conversation, bro, talking about death, right? So if you don't know what was really said, now it's kind of like you in a conversation, right? And you don't know what's really you don't really know the truth. So you start saying things that you thought you knew. And then the person who actually knows what God said, who's trying to trick you, right? That's the beautiful thing about it. And this is, let me break this down for you. And you said this earlier, right? Demons, Satan, the devil, right? His crew, they fear God, right? So they know everything he said because they fear him, right? We, on the other hand, we going through life not thinking that Satan and the demons and the devil don't know the word.
Yeah.
They know the word. A lot of times what's crazy is demons, Satan, and bad spirits know the word better than we do. That's how a lot of times they able to get us started doing the things and tricking us and having this subtle wordplay. In verse 1 of Genesis 3:1, it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Right? So a lot of times it's these subtleties, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's not, hey, I'm trying to trick you. Hey, I'm trying to make
distraction.
I'm a distraction. Don't look at
over
me.
here.
You know what I'm saying? Like those commercials about mayhem. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm mayhem, right? Yeah. Anyway, but so he's very subtle. So we got to know the word for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To know how to not succumb to that subtlety. Right? So now they talking about touching it when that's not even what he said. Right now they talking about death and touching it, and the serpent in verse 4 is like, you're not gonna die if you touch that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh snap, I'm not gonna die. So now she got into the point where what you hearing, remember, we'll just keep it a buck, right? Women fall in love with what they hear, right? Men fall in love with what they see. Okay. And this goes back to the Bible. It was the conversation. She been looking at the tree the whole time. She knew that she wasn't supposed to eat it, right? But now this conversation, somebody started twisting words. Now what you listening to is huge, right? The environments and what you listening to now, long story short, she's eating it. And now she's like, oh, snap. Like, I didn't die. Adam, try this.
Adam, come on, Adam.
God said we was going to die. We ain't died. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's huge, bro. It's huge. Okay. So what's the next theme that you caught in this?
Okay. So going into the enjoyment of eating the fruit, right? It said that when they ate the fruit, right, they hid themselves in the garden from God, right?
Right.
And you were talking about this, how God poses his, I guess, investigation of what they do. He already knew what they did, right? Let me take a step back. There's only two people, God's not really a person, but two people that know exactly all the lies and the bad things that you did. That's yourself and that's God. So when you do so, don't think that you can hide for God. He already knows the truth.
He already knows.
It's like when your mama asks you a question talking about, hey, where was you? And she already know where you was at, but she's waiting for you to either try to figure out a lie or to start talking too much and reveal the things that you did.
Right.
So that's why God was subtle. He was like, hey, where are you?
Right.
And they gave God all the details before he could even get to the next question, right? But going into this sense, right, don't think you have the ability to hide from God. Everything that you do is like on a big television for God. He knows. So why would you sit here and try to manipulate it or try to hide yourself and try to lie? And take that not only just with God, take that with everybody that you got dealing in your life. Stop taking these opportunities to deceive people and then hide in your hand and expecting not to get caught. You have to take accountability for these actions that you're doing. God sees, he knows, he understands. Like, he already understands that we're going to make mistakes. He understands that we're not perfect. Right. But one thing he doesn't want you to do is to make that mistake and then turn around and lie to him about the mistakes that you made.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Repentance is telling the truth, realizing what I did wrong and trying to be better. Right. It's not doing something wrong, then trying to lie about it and hoping that you get away with it.
I think, like you said, bro, it was very interesting. Why did he ask, where were you?
Yeah.
I mean, where are you?
Where are you?
Right. Like in verse 9 of Genesis 3, he says, and God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? Like, why didn't he say, why'd you eat the apple?
I think, so I'll say this. I think it's because his actions were different. So I don't think there was ever a time that God walked through the garden and Adam was hiding.
Right.
And he wasn't hiding. And I don't think people understand that when they do something wrong, though you may not say what you did wrong, your actions tell it. God already knew, like, wait, I see Adam in the garden, this garden all the time at this time, this specific time, at this specific area. While I'm walking through, where's he at?
It says it as if they would normally, like, all right, let's say me and you meet up and we're gonna chop it up at this time every day.
Yeah.
We're gonna get lunch at this time every day. And then I don't show up for lunch. And then you like, yo, Haas, where you at?
Where you at?
You know what I'm saying? Like they said it as if this is their meeting time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he said he was walking, God, the voice of God was walking in the garden. You know what I mean? And for him to say, where are you? It seems like, it just seemed like very smooth though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, the more I read the Bible, the more I see how God even handles conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when we see how he handles conflict, it also, I guess, subconsciously inspires me to handle it like that too.
Yeah.
Just ask probing questions instead of being like, I'm God and I saw you eat the apple.
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
And going off.
Lightning bolt strikes you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, he was real cool. He was like,
Subtle.
you know what I'm saying? Like, where you at? I thought we meet during this time. And it's another interesting thing, right? When you do something wrong or you sin or you feel like you've been away from God, our immediate reaction is to hide. And I think in this verse, the first man on earth did the same thing. It shows you that no matter, even if you are making mistakes, lean in more. Like a lot of people stop going to church because they were out drinking or they was in a club or they had this phase in their life where they weren't as close to God. I think this shows you that no matter what you do, even the first man, he still wanted to hear from you.
Yeah, he did.
He still wanted to see Adam. He still was like, I know what you did, but that's not even, it's an issue, but it's even more of an issue from you running from me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I love you. You feel me? Like, why are you running from me?
I think everybody always feels like that they can handle these things on their own. As Hasan said, I even seen it on TikTok. I be watching a little different crazy stuff on TikTok, but this pastor was saying that people have this feeling that they have to come to church and put their best foot forward. Like they got to come suited, they got to come perfect before they can enter that realm. And it's the same thing when they do things with God. The first thing they do is when they do something wrong, they want to retreat and hide from him. And separate themselves farther and farther until they can figure out, all right, how do I become perfect? That way I can go to God and show him that, hey, God, I did it. Right. I'm better. But they don't understand that the growth comes in with knowing God, with understanding what he requires and wants out of you, right? And what God really wants is he wants you to bring him yourself as who you are, right? And I'm not saying stay who you are, but I mean showing him that, hey, God, I don't have the strength to do this alone. I don't have the knowledge to do this alone. I've made these mistakes. God, what do I need to do to grow? What do I need to do to get better? Like, how do I serve you? How do I serve the people you put me on earth? It's not retreat from God. It's seeking God when you do wrong.
Facts.
And even when you do right, seek God. But even more, seek God when you're doing wrong.
No, absolutely. Because that's the only thing that's going to change your situation. Isn't it amazing that the serpent talks to Eve? Serpent is in the mix now. Yeah. Like he's in the picture.
Yeah, he's in there.
He talks to Eve. They eat the fruit, and then as soon as all of this starts happening, serpent is nowhere on sight.
Slid out.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
out the back door.
Out the back door. Very, very subtle. It's like he did this, got you to do this wrong, and that's the thing, bro. What I noticed is like we're not perfect. So when I do have these thoughts of doing whatever, and I sin, then it's also like. On top of that, the devil will be like, see, look what you did.
Goofy.
Now you got your pops mad at you.
Stupid.
You talk, who you gonna eat the apple because I told
Dummy.
you to? Dumb, stupid. Like, it's amazing that like he's there in the mix when it's all good, but then when it's gone, I mean when it happens and it's gone, I mean he's gone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's and that's how your life is too. People will get you to make these mistakes. A lot of times people go do bids in prison, and the people that was with them and even had them to chant, even got them inspired to do that nonsense. Now when they in jail, they don't hear from them. In prison, they don't hear from them. Ain't put money on their books. Ain't calling them, ain't checking on them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the same things that happened in the beginning of time is still happening now. And that's why we feel like the Bible is so relevant. And that's why we're studying it, because it's the nature of man.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like this ain't nothing new. Like the devil ain't got no new tricks.
No, he doesn't.
He doing the same thing he did with the first people on earth.
Exactly.
You feel me? And so when you read this, you can understand how to overcome and be aware to nip it in the bud when it first happens.
Yeah. And I guess following on to that, I think it kind of leads into the next thing that I have to say with one of these verses, right? When when Adam was talking to God, one of the first things he did is when he realized God knew he's wrong, he said, hey, the woman that you gave me, God, gave me the fruit and I did eat.
Point finger.
The woman that thou gave me.
Point finger.
God, that's really your fault. Because if she wasn't around, I wouldn't have did it, right?
Right.
And I was telling Hasan early, I think one of the most intricate quotes that you get as a child and you don't really understand the depth of it is when your mom or your pops or somebody in your life looks at you and say, hey, if your friend would jump off a bridge, would you do it too? And as a kid, you like, yeah, yo, that's my boy. Yeah, we got to do it, right? But you don't understand that the accountability piece is just because somebody else does something doesn't mean you have to follow along in their footsteps. Because as Hasan said, the devil will tell you different things and he will manipulate the words. But when the consequences come to roost, you turn around and he's gone. He's no longer in the mix, right? He left you standing there dry.
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget that though you're following around the people that care about you, you're following in the footsteps of the people that are surrounding you. When the consequences happen or when somebody's to blame, you can't really blame them. It's you that got to deal with it, right? You that have to answer to God for these different things. So you don't get the opportunity to say, well, hey, if Hasan wouldn't have did it, I wouldn't have did it. I was just doing it because Hasan did it, right? And God doesn't care about why the reason that you did it because somebody else did it. You know the truth just like Hasan knew the truth. I knew it. I could have told him, nah, that's not what we're doing. But I followed along.
And on that note, right, you saying that God asked Adam, it brought me to this point. It was like, why didn't he ask Eve?
Yeah.
Like when he was calling in the garden, when God is walking in the garden, was like, hey, Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
He didn't say, Eve, where are you? He asked where Adam was, right? It shows me, number one, as a man, I'm supposed to be walking with God every day.
Exactly.
I'm supposed to be talking to God every day. Number two, it shows me that God holds the man more responsible for the household, right? Because it was Adam that got the instructions from God.
Yeah.
You feel me? So he can't hold Eve as accountable because she didn't get the instructions from God. It showed me that, like, okay, it seems like the order is God talked to Adam, gave him the instructions. Adam gave the instructions to everybody else. As a man, you're supposed to have a deep connection with God because people, not just your wife, but Satan is gonna use people that are close to you to try to defeat the household.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like if I don't know that person, they came and told me to eat the fruit, I'm like, why would I do that? I'm not eating it.
I'm good.
But if my wife come and say that, or my kid come and say that, my sister, my brother, my best friend come and say that, it hits a little different.
Yeah.
You feel me? So it also showed me that God holds the man more responsible than anybody else because you're the one who's supposed to have that connection, that deep, strong connection with God. And
I think that even goes further along with the statement that a lot of men say is that my woman is a reflection of who I am.
Facts.
And what I allow to surround me or be within me, right? If I take more time to educate my woman, if I take more time to set the boundaries with my woman, she wouldn't have been tricked by this serpent, you know what I'm saying, to do the things that I said in our household is unacceptable. Actually, I didn't, but God said, and I'm just showing in our household is unacceptable, right?
Right.
So this is what men mean when they say, hey, as a woman, you are a reflection of me. You know what I'm saying? You are my rib, right? We are one flesh once we become partners, right?
Facts.
So if part of my flesh makes a mistake, then all of my flesh has to atone for it.
Facts. No, that's real, bro. That's real. And ladies, I love y'all. I promise I do.
So much. We really love y'all. We talk a lot, but we love y'all.
Listen, the world is a better place. Our lives are easier because you guys are here. So let's not get that twisted. I don't want to make it seem like we attacking y'all on Eve's behalf. Like, listen, we love y'all, right? But it is what it is, and we're going to call it what it is so we can be better and move forward, right? Now, earlier we mentioned women fall in love with what they hear, right? Let's take it more out of, sometimes we say that, right? Because we like, oh, he gonna game her, you know what I'm saying? And try to get your girl or whatever, right? Even marketing, right? The marketing strategy of, especially in America, they target the women. You feel me? Like most marketing campaigns target the women, right? Like when you hear people that want to get something through to their husband, they talk to the woman because they know the woman can convince the husband.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So fellas, you have to consistently and daily walk with God, talk to God, and stay in the word because your woman, she's not as strong as you are when it comes to not being able to disassociate from what's the truth and what's I guess a counterfeit, right?
Yeah.
So as a man, we have to be super duper intentional in taking our alone time, right? Like that's why I think a lot of times we want man caves because we need our alone time.
Yeah, you need your separation.
Or we need space. I feel like that space and that alone time was a divine thing that God put in us. So not only will we have time for ourselves, but we'll make time for him.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like a lot of time we're like, women's like, oh, why do you need why do you want to go a man cave, or why do you need so much time alone? Like, I feel like now reading this, and I just got this now, is that God put that unction and that kind of like urge in us to have that separation time, because you need that to hear from God. You need that time to pull away, restore, recharge, and get instructions from God and go back and tell the family what the deal is.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then I'm moving a little forward. He's like, what? He was like, where are you? Adam responded, I hit myself because I'm naked. And so God is like,
how you know you was naked? I ain't tell you that.
I ain't tell you was naked.
How you know that?
Where you get that from?
Talking too much.
Talking too much. Because when you gotta lie, you gotta keep lying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about a lie, right? Like once you start it, you're gonna have to keep doing it to keep it going. So he talking too much. But God's so smooth, he didn't say why you eat the apple. He was like, yo, where you at? I had to hide myself. I heard your voice and I'm naked. Who told you you was naked?
You know you was naked.
You feel me? Like I want to see like this joint in real time. You know what I'm saying? I can feel like God just been like, who did? Oh, for real?
I can see myself in the movies eating popcorn like, this boy's stupid.
Stupid.
Talking
goofy,
stupid.
Just rambling. But that's how it is, bro. When you start lying, you start rambling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You start ranting, dig yourself in the hole. And then what he said, and then after that, he was like, have you eaten of the tree where I commanded you not to eat? He didn't say not to touch. Remember earlier, Eve was talking to the serpent saying, well, we touch it, we gonna die. And then the serpent was like, you're not gonna die if you touch it, right? So now she started touching it or whatever, now she ate it, right? Going back to now, God is like, I commanded you not to eat it. Playing on those details, like he said. Details from instructions from God are huge.
Very huge.
You can't miss out on them details, right? So then he's like, the woman you gave me.
The woman you gave me.
You brought this one. I was in the garden doing my thing, chilling, you know what I'm saying? Doing what you told me to do, in my gifts and my abilities, and then you brought this woman to me, and now you mad at me because this woman ain't told me to eat the apple. You brought her to me. I didn't even know who a woman was.
This ain't my fault, God. This is yours.
This is on you, Parlay. You know what I'm saying? This is your fault.
You know I'm outside, God. Why you do that?
You see me outside. You know I ain't got nobody. And then you gonna bring her to me and be like, why did I do it?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, broski.
That's very big. So I think even one of the things is a following verse, right? And God talks about how they will receive a curse for doing this, eating of this fruit, right? I thought what was very important is how God said, because you've placed her words above mine, you will be cursed, right? That was one of the things that God alluded to or said, right? And I started to even look personally in myself, right? There's so many things that I do knowing that God says I shouldn't do it, right? And it's almost like the cockiness to believe that I know better than God.
Yeah.
Or I know the right thing, but somebody will tell me the wrong thing, and because they said it, I'll just go with it, knowing
Sounds
that that's
better.
not what God that says, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the most embarrassing things as human we can do is uphold somebody's word over God's. Like God is the all knowing, the being. He's a reason we are here, right? He gave us the path on how to be great, how to be better. He's shown us example after example after example of what he can do for us, but we still take the word of somebody else knowing that is wrong and put it over God's, and then want to look at God like,
right.
whoa,
Why is
God,
my life?
why is my life this, right?
Yeah.
The importance of really understanding and deep diving into the word, right? And I don't, as myself either, I don't expect perfection from nobody, right? You're going to make slip ups and steps, right? But there got to be a point where you see the obstacles in your way before you get to them, that you separate yourself before you get to them. Like you said, you don't put yourself in that environment, or you don't take somebody else's word over the I am that I am's word,
Right.
over the Almighty's word,
Right.
over the you know what I'm saying, the definite end all be all word, right?
Facts.
Understand, bro, nobody's word is above God. Nobody knows more than God.
Facts.
Nobody's more forgiving. Nobody's more caring. Nobody's more loving than God.
No, for sure,
So
bro.
don't give anybody more time than God.
You can't, bro. Like, you have to give him that time. You know what I'm saying? And so, like you mentioned, bro, another thing, right? The accountability. Like, okay, he came to Adam. Adam pointed to Eve. Then Eve pointed to the serpent. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing when something go wrong, bro. Everybody start pointing fingers. And that's the thing when I try to tell, I think, you know, I'll say our people, what you don't understand is like, these ain't your boys for real. When things go left, everybody is on Instagram and Twitter talking about, oh, this person's a rat. Oh, this person snitched. Oh, you ain't holding it down. Oh, you a fed. Oh, you a narc, right? When it hit the fan, you about to get time. When you in them interview rooms and it's just you and them, and you ain't ate all day and they come bring you a burger and a Sprite and some fries, bro, you pointing fingers, yo.
Telling the truth.
You telling the truth, admit, right? Like, everybody in this like, nope, it was him. It was her and she was here. Nope. And I didn't really want to do it. They tricked me because they held a gun to my head. And then, like, these people ain't really for you, yo. They not riding for you. So stop putting yourself in these situations where, like Keith said, you taking somebody else's word over God's word. They talking about y'all family, right? And we gonna ride for each other, ride or die, blah, blah, blah. And then when it hit the fan, nobody's there. Go talk to anybody that's doing time. Nobody's there.
We got to stop placing so much importance on how much our so-called friends or family will do wrong with us. And we need to place more importance on us is when they'll tell us that we're doing wrong.
Facts.
And when they won't allow us to do wrong, when they won't drag us in a situation that is wrong. Like, I feel like I respect my friends and family more when they tell me, hey, even if I'm doing this, I'm not about to let you get involved.
Right.
Like, I'm not about to lead you down this. This has nothing to do with this. You shouldn't be involved in this, right? The people that care so much about their self-sustainment or survival that they're willing to sacrifice yours aren't your friends. They're not people that care about you. Like, we were watching a reaction video the other day. Like, my boy said, hey, all the girls was around, all my friends was around. But when I got locked up, there was only 2 people behind me. That was my mom and my grandma crying. He said, when I got sentenced with me, all my boys, all the girls that were around me dipped and left, right? These people don't care about you, man. They don't. And if you keep surrounding yourself by all these people, eventually you're going to slip up. Eventually that time is going to come when you're the one getting the finger pointed at.
Facts.
Come on now.
Facts. And so now, after all of this, right, we get into the consequences. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like everybody now has the consequences based on a decision that happened going against God's word. And the beautiful lesson that's in this is that the same consequences, and we can go through them, at the end of this chapter are the same consequences we're dealing with to this day. So it says in verse 16, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. When you bring forth children, basically it's going to be painful. Bringing a child, the woman's going to feel a lot of pain. Bringing a child into the earth because of these decisions that was made at the beginning of time. To this day,
yeah.
To this day, we still having what do they call them? Like the contraptions or whatever, or the contractions. I said contraptions. The contractions, right? The pain that comes from that happens since the beginning. That's because of the beginning of time. Yeah. So the mistakes you make, don't think it's just gonna be on you. These can be seen in generations to come, and your kids and your kids' kids. We still dealing with generational trauma.
Exactly.
You feel me? And we talk about it sometimes in a sense of like us being enslaved, you know what I mean? And being in America and the traumas that we experience, and we passing that down to our kids. These are traumas that we have, things that we're dealing with since the beginning of time.
Yeah. And that we're continue to pass on.
You know what I'm saying? Almost, you can't escape that. Right? And it also shows that, like, it don't matter if we didn't do anything. We still dealing with something that Adam and Eve did. Yeah. So when God says something, he's standing on business.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
It's not a joke.
And not a ha-ha.
A ha-ha. Not funny ha-ha. Nah. Funny weird. Yeah. Like, he's standing on business. When he says something, he's standing on business. He didn't say, oh, well, all right, I'll give you guys another chance. No. Nope.
Ain't no break.
All of y'all got consequences right now. Matter of fact, and all y'all kids and the rest of the generation that ever come through here, they're gonna be dealing with the same things because y'all made these decisions. So the decisions that you're making, when you're going against God's word, it has a potential to affect generations to come and not escape it.
Yeah.
That may be something that you just got to deal with because of your decision. So don't do that. Don't set your kids up for failure because you listening, you going against God's word. You listening to somebody else more than God's word. Right. And then it says, now when the men, when you're toiling the field in verse 18, thorns and thistles will come up. Right. So you're going to have weeds in the ground, right, in the garden. Right. Now you got to actually work to bring forth fruit. At first, everything was just given to you.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have, you didn't have to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Now you're going to have to actually sweat. You know what I'm saying? Like now you're not going to be able to just wake up and be blessed. Right. In verse 19, it says, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for it was taken. For dust thou art, and until dust shall you return.
So you're going to work until the day you die.
So now, no matter whatever, there's some, you're going to have to work. There will be some sweat equity, one of my buzzwords. Sweat equity will have to be put in now for the men just because of what Adam did. You know what I'm saying? Nothing will just be given to us, right, anymore because of that. He also said, and this is an interesting one, right? And because we talk about now, why are so many, I think it was already happening, but the podcast craze has now put a spotlight on it, right? It says in verse 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head and shall bruise his heels, right? And so to that, right, when he says I will put basically hostility, hatred, right, between thee and the woman, right? And between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head and thou shalt bruise his heel. So honestly, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking now there will always be some type of beef between men and women.
We're always at odds.
Like there will always be like some type of hostility between us, right? And it was also realizing that I think, so when that word seed means sowing time, right? Child, fruitful seed, sowing time. So now kind of how like Eve was kind of just like made immediately. I think now we have the 9 months thing now. I think kids could have been, this is just me thinking out loud from reading that. I think kids could have been brought forth quicker than 9 months because he said, I'll put enmity between your seed and her seed. Yeah. Right. So now I'm thinking now it's going to be hostility between y'all. And also your seed is going to have to go through 9 months. And then the next verse he goes in talking about having painful births. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So I think the long story short is that these consequences are the consequences we're dealing with now. So about the podcast craze, about relationships, and why we keep talking about these relationships, and why are y'all at odds? Why can't we all just get along? Low key, it come all the way back to this.
Consequences for their actions.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's hope and there's possibility that we can get on the same page. But I think the hostility being such a great force of us kind of like going back and forth and us not knowing where this comes from, it's low key coming from that, which is huge, and I didn't even realize that.
And honestly, I think one of the biggest things, or the only way that we can overcome these consequences is doing things the right way, right? For the man to get into his gift, right? To get into his purpose, and to work and to work and to work and to get to know God and become the representation of who God is to his family, right? And then the woman follows along with him, and then that goes down to your kids, right? And you just took yourself out of that kind of like that revolving door, right? Because you see the mistakes of the people prior, and you don't continue to make them. Right. You don't continue to give water to these weeds. You rip them out. You start to grow on the plants that are bringing forth the things that you want and you need, right? But you don't get to just look at the weed and ignore the weed. You have to take it out. You have to rip it out. You don't get to let the door just keep turning around. One day you got to jump into the thing and get it right. So understand that the only way we're getting out of these consequences is if we start doing our own self-improvement to get better and be better.
Man. And in his last verse, right, it says, verse 22, And the Lord God said, behold, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore God sent him out of the garden of Eden and made him till the ground for where he was taken. So he drove out man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So it's almost like God kicked Adam out and was like, if anybody else was to eat of this tree, they would be like us and live forever. Right? So he puts these flaming swords, which is a crazy thing even to even think about it, that went each way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy to even imagine, just swords just spinning with flames coming out of them each way, so you can't go to the tree of life, right? Because if we did, we would end up having to live forever. Which, there's like movies out, even like the Benjamin Button disease, right? And there's movies where people can't die, and they're so miserable.
They're miserable.
You feel me? Like when you can't die and you can't age, it's so miserable.
Yeah.
So it's like, he said they would live forever if they were to eat of that tree. So it's almost like now he has to put that flaming sword to protect us from that happening to us.
Yeah.
You feel me?
You know what's crazy? This is outside of the Bible. This is just a life comparison, right? You bringing up how living forever will be miserable, right? As I stated before, I'm in the military, right? And on my ship, I fleeted up. So essentially, instead of going to another job, I stayed at my job and on my ship, right? And one of the worst things that has been on that ship is seeing everybody that I've grown up with on the ship leave. Like I'm literally one of the people on the ship that's been there the longest. So I've seen new people come, everybody go, and every single time we have these gatherings or we have these celebrations of people coming in and then saying our goodbyes to everybody, at the end of the day, I'm like, all the people that are going to be there to say goodbye to me were people that I don't really know, like
That's
that
deep.
I haven't spent time with,
That's
right?
deep.
So that shows, you know, the consequences of having to live forever, the consequences to have to deal with that, right? It's so saddening to see the people that you love and care about leave this earth and you're still here. And imagine
That's
doing that
deep.
forever.
That's deep, bro.
Yeah.
That's deep. and I didn't even realize that till now to read. I'm like, wait, is he saying that he put this there? And he also put, I don't know how to pronounce the word, but he put like a kind of like an image or like a person there to keep. He had the sword there, flaming sword, and like an image or a hologram or something right there to like also protect it. So it's like, I think it's just crazy that number one that chapter was so dense.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was so much to unpack, and we still probably miss stuff, right? For the sake of time, right? Trying to unpack it, but to live forever, he was protecting them from like living forever. It's almost like a lot of times people try to be God. People try to be these things and be God when not knowing
what it takes to do it.
What it takes to do it, and how miserable it would be to actually have to live forever and become, and from his vantage point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes people are like, well, why God can't tell me this? Or why he can't tell me God made, or well, God is this and that third. When it's like, you don't even know the potential of how bad your life could be if he put you in that situation. Like, you couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we'll get to chapter 4 about other things that people can't handle. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. But that was dense though, man. What you got to wrap it up for the people?
Hey, man, honestly, I don't have a quote for y'all, bro. I just want y'all to understand, man. Listen to some of the stuff we're saying, and you don't got to take it for complete facts, right? Do your own research. Get into the Bible, man. Understand that God is the one. He's the one that put us on this platform to do what we're doing, right? And we're so appreciative to have the opportunity to do this, right? We're not just up here talking for our health, right? A lot of these things that we're saying are things that can help you,
for
or
sure,
at least guide you to the right place, right? Because it all starts in the Bible. It all starts with God.
Facts. That part. Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think just like he said, the Bible is very relevant, and it's life lessons and guidelines that you should do. It's less about religion. It's more about things to be successful in life. All right. So as we do this, we're doing this Bible study to communicate messages to help everyone become better at life.
Free.
You know what I'm saying? So Freewenow
till it's backward.